Tav X, purity becoming one. Tav X, purity becoming one. This is the new Yeshua Measure Hebrew on the island 2. This is a Torah and Tanakh only channel. We're not into those other books. And we're not into those other books. And those other books, starting with the New Testament, which is not scripture, it's epistles and letters, and the Apocrypha and all the, you have some good stuff and some bad. Bad and good equals bad. We don't deal with it. We just deal with it. Tanakh. All of us don't have it all down packed, or the majority down packed. This is what we deal with it here. It's the Most High alone. 1 Samuel chapter 7. You're going to return back to the Most High. Return back to the Most High with your whole heart. Put away the strange God and serve Him alone. Today is going to be a special video. It's going to be movie night. I haven't done one in a while, but this one's going to be a movie night because capture moments as they happen. No. I make my own Hebrew lunar calendar, and today is Passover. How my calculations came out. And remember this always, and I tell everybody that talk to me, remember Zephaniah chapter 3. In that day, the Most High will restore to Israel a pure tongue and pure speech so we can invoke His name. You got some Hebrew Israelite groups, whether Torah only, Messianics, or Christian, whatever. They be like, Most High's name is this, that, this, and that. What I try to do at Hebrew on the Island 2, I try to stay closest to the law. In Exodus chapter 3, the Most High told Moses to tell Pharaoh, let my people go and worship him. Moses said, well, when I talk to them, they may ask, what's your name? What should I say? He said, tell them my name is I am that I am. That's my name forever. So, you got all these other names out here. Listen, you don't have a dog in a fight with me. Because in Ezekiel chapter 14, though Job, Daniel, and Noah was in it, they had to save themselves by their own righteousness. I have my own journey. I'm a Koheleth, and I'm a personal Hebrew like you guys. So I have my own journey. I have to set my own righteousness, work out my own righteousness. So I strive to stay closest to the law as possible. You may have a different version or different. That is you. I'm not going to be, hey, change, be exactly like me, whatever. I just present things to you as a Koheleth, a teacher, preacher of the Book of Wisdom. I'm a student of King Solomon. So I am that I am. He says, I am have sent you. In Spanish, that's yo soy. And whatever other languages you have. In the modern Hebrew that they use, I don't know how far back, how whatever, is Ahiye Asher Ahiye. Ahiye. And if you read the Tanakh, it actually says Ahiye. So I'm using that. So anybody says, well, those are Exodus 3:14. That's his name forever. That's what I'm using. I don't need to. I'm not a follower, number one. I'm not. That's why here at Hebrew on the Island 2, you don't hear me say shalom. Not that there's nothing wrong with saying shalom. It means peace. Do you see peace on the earth? You know you don't. I say Tav X, and I put it on my signet ring. The bottom inscription, little banner, says Tav X. And on the side, I got crowns, king crowns, because hopefully when the new kingdom comes, if the Most High chooses me and you to be in the kingdom, we're going to be little kings and viceroys and czars under King David ruling the earth in the center. That's a video that I want to do. So I say Tav X because Tav is the 400 numeric value of the Phoenician Hebrew alphabet and the Phoenician Hebrew. Somebody said, well, it's Paleo. Listen, you don't have a dog in a fight with me. The little history I've done with the Hebrew language, from my research, I find that in Genesis chapter 14, Abraham's called the Hebrew. He's the first Hebrew. He comes from the land of of the Chaldees. That's Canaanite land. So, so what languages do you think they're speaking in of the Chaldees? They're speaking Canaanite languages, and there's not just one, there's several of them. So one of the Canaanite languages is called Phoenician. And then Phoenician gives birth to the Hebrew and the Aramaic. You know how they say they use the Aramaic in the New Testament. But that's where it gives birth to the Phoenician. So most likely when you do your research, way back in the beginning, Moses and Aaron probably was speaking a Phoenician type of Hebrew. This is my history that I researched. You could come up with something else. There's no law saying, hey, if you're not studying Paleo, you're sinning. Oh, if you're studying Hebrew, Phoenician Hebrew, guys, you gotta grow up. You have to elevate. You know, major in the major things. A lot of you guys, you major in the minor things and you minor in the major things. And what I try to do at Hebrew and I2, I try to stay closest to the law. So anybody comes, hey, blah, blah, yo, it's right here. What are you talking about? You know, but they'll still go like this because we still have to deal with the Hebrew Israelites. Remember, 600,000 left Egypt and only 70 made it in. That was Joshua and Caleb from the old group. Those were the only faithful ones that the Most High decided, and all the young kids of the parents that all died, they grew up, and then those people went in. So we're dealing with rebellious, stiff-necked scorpion rebels still. But guess what? I have to protect my peace. I'm not about arguing, hey, the Paleo, the Hebrew. I'm dealing with the law here at Hebrew on Island. So anyway, let's get back to the video. And that was just introduction, just in case somebody new was watching this video. We're a Torah and Tanakh only channel. Here, we view only the Negroes that have been scattered to the four corners of this flat earth, who only suffer the curse of Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus 26, are the true physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the 12 tribes of Israel. There's no whatever, as the Messianics, Haiti is Levi, Brazil is this group is Gad, this group is Reuben, this group is Simeon, this group is Levi, this group is Judah, this group is Asher, this group is Naphtali, this group is Zebulun, this group is Issachar, this group is Joseph, which is Ephraim and Manasseh, this group is Benjamin. You guys don't know. They came out of Egypt not knowing none of that. You don't know. That's not revealed to us. Oh, so you got that crazy 12th tribe. Oh, Haitians are Levi. Listen, Messianic Hebrews are just chocolate covered Christians. They just got a chocolate covered bloody guy JC on the cross. They believe the same thing. They think Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Romans, Corinthians, Greek, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Titus, Philemon, Hebrew, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, Revelation. That's the New Testament. See, I know all that. I was an associate Christian pastor years and years ago. Was going to be the pastor of a church and of an all Caucasian church in Pennsylvania. But I and started knowing, hey, we're the Israelites. Most High stripped me away from that. So I know the New Testament, front and back. And I'm a teacher, a Kohelah of the Tanakh. The Torah, the Ketuvim, and the Nevi'im. That's it. That's all I need to know, because it's a lot to know. And I don't know all of it. I know a lot of it, but I don't know all of it. We don't need to be dealing with other books. And the wisest man ever said, "You searching out all these books is in vain." And here at Hebrew Island too, I'm a student of King Solomon. I'm gonna listen to his, because he's the wisest guy. You know what it says in Ecclesiastes? Since I'm a student of King Solomon, it says, uh, "Rubies." There's nothing that can compare to wisdom. There's nothing on earth, even rubies cannot compare to wisdom. And wisdom is only found in the Tanakh, aka they call it the Old Testament. So he says the study of many books is just this book right here. I don't want to be a master of all trades. I want to be a master of just this. You know, in Isaiah 34, it says, "Seek ye out of the book of the Most High and read, and none of these things shall fail." It doesn't say, "Seek ye out of all these books, the Old Testament, the New, so-called New Testament, the Apocrypha, Jubilees, Jasher, Enoch, Bells and Dragon, Enoch, and there's a lot of other books. They got the Book of Matthew and all this other stuff. Listen, dealing with this here. This is why this channel is not popular. This is probably boring to. You mean he's only going to deal with this? I don't want. Well, here, this is what we do here. 1 Samuel chapter 7. You can return back to the Most High. Return back to the Most High with your whole heart. Put away the strings, God, and serve Him alone. Only the Negroes. And remember, there's different type of Negroes. Only a small portion of Negroes, Hebrew Israelites. I don't believe, Africa. I don't believe that. I believe the Western Hemisphere is the old world. And the second choice would be Asia in the Eastern Hemisphere. But I mainly stick with the Western Hemisphere. But what I stick with is the whole earth was populated by Negro people, melanated people first. The Israelites are melanated people. You read in Amos 9:7, Moses said through the minor prophet Amos, he says, "O you children of Israel, you are as the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel." He didn't say the white, Caucasian, Italians, Greeks, Russians, Polish, Ukrainian, Scottish, is Irish. He said Ethiopians. They've been always known as dark race people, melanated people. The Most High even described himself in Daniel chapter 10. His color is brass, color brown, if he wants to present as in a physical form. So anyway, enough with that. Enough with that. Today, I'm celebrating the Passover, which I already ate my Passover meal. Let me get my phone. Let me show you. It's over there. I made my lamb. I had my bitter herbs, which was arugula. Put some macadamia nuts on there, and I have a quarter of a piece of matzah, which I haven't had matzah in a long time. I put some Parmesan cheese on it, some fortified B12 yeast, which is not the yeast that makes bread and cakes. It's just a seasoning. It was delicious. I'll show you a photo of it. I ate it a little while ago. I prayed, I read, I did all those things earlier. And I said I'm going to end my Passover. And tomorrow, on my lunar calendar, starts unleavened bread for 7 days. Get all the yeast out of your house. This is, let me see if it turns. It's not turning, but let's see if you can see it. Hold on. There you go. That was my Passover. That was my Passover meal. The lamb came out delicious. Somebody would say, "Yeah, but that's not done the exact way or whatever." Listen, in captivity, they couldn't do the exact thing. We're still in captivity. You got the honest man in charge. He don't want you in the army. He don't want people with hair bumps, Negro people. We're in captivity. First fired, last hired, first fired. police checking us all the time, choking us out in a murder scene when we're driving, when we're walking. We got Karens calling the cops on us. We're still in captivity, just without chains. So you can't do everything. Uh, I did it as a ceremonial remembrance of Passover, a remembrance of the scriptures in Exodus, remembering what our foreparents, the patriarchs, did. So, I didn't raise a lamb, a baby lamb for 14 days. I don't have the skills to kill it. And you're not supposed to gut it. You're supposed to put it on an open fire and burn it with the entrails in. You're not supposed to leave none for the morning, and you have to do all that. I'm not in a situation to do all that. I'm doing it as a memorial, not just sitting on my hands. I'm actually acknowledging that, hey, the Passover occurred in 2026 and every year, even though it's not the correct year. The Jewish year is like 5768. And believe you me, and I did a video about it, in other countries, it's not 2026 the year. Jewish calendar is 5768, something like that. 5,768. In other countries, India and other countries, it's not. It's not the same numbers. So we have to do the best you can. Strive to do the best you can. And that's what I tell everybody that comes to Hebron Island. Strive to do the best you can. You can't fool the Most High if you're just trying to get over or do nothing or whatever. He knows. Me here, I strive to try to do the best that I can. Dates, I do the best that I can. Observance, I do the best that I can. When tabernacle booths come, I sleep in the tent in my room for the week, for the 7 days. I do. Trumpets, I got a little horn. I try to blow. Read. Day of Atonement, I fast like the whole day and pray to the Most High. Feast of Weeks, I can give some stuff and put it on the beach or something. Do little commemorative things. I'm striving. I'm trying to be, the Most High. And the thing is, I'm going to be judged by the Most High. Israelites, we can judge too, but in that, I know that the Most High will judge me on that, and I'm going to strive to do the best that I can. So anyway, now, what I want to show with you, what I want to do, I'm going to read, and listen, I read all the comments at the end, okay? Anybody crazy out here, you got wrenches, just wrench them out. We're going to read this one chapter. We're going to just read, not the whole scenario, because, I read from chapter 1 to chapter 3 today, and, it's going to take some time. You can, I encourage you, if you feel led to, read chapter 1 of Exodus, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to where you want to stop. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to read Exodus chapter 3. Then I'm going to show you this Exodus video. It's like 17 minutes, but it's worth it because there's a point in there that I want you to get. It encapsulates the Exodus and everything that was incorporated with the Exodus, the wilderness and whatever, which is very important, is the lesson to learn. So that's what I want to do for this video, for me, presenting this 2026, American 2026 Passover movie time. So let us begin. And, I'll give you all guys shout out and read your comments at the end. Let me read Exodus chapter 3. Praise the Most High. I can see through these cheap glasses that I'm wearing because they don't really have real optometrists here. And I tried to get other glasses and they weren't good. So I just use these cheap reading glasses. So anyway, pray to the Most High that I can do this. Enjoy this Bible reading. Hopefully a lot of you guys that, he's reading, start itching like, moving around like you're ADD because you mean he's going to read the whole chapter 3? Listen, I would read chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys would go probably crazy, some of you guys. I'm only going to read chapter 3 and then show you the video. Okay? I love you guys, even though a lot of you are stiff necked rebels. Okay? Exodus chapter 3. Now Moses, tending to the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, drove the flock into the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire out of a bush. He gazed, and there was a bush all aflame, yet the bush was not consumed. Moses said, I must turn aside to look at the marvelous sight. Why doesn't the bush burn out? When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to look, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. He answered, Here I am, here I am. And he said, Do not come closer. Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. I am, he said, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And the Lord continued, I have marked well the plight of my people in Egypt, and have heeded their outcry because of their taskmasters. Yes, I am mindful of their suffering. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of the land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the region of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now the cry of the Israelites have reached me. Moreover, I have seen how the Egyptians oppressed them. Come, therefore, I will send you to Pharaoh, and you shall free my people, the Israelites, from Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and free the Israelites from Egypt? And he said, I will be with you. That shall be your sign that it was I who sent you. And when you have freed the people from Egypt, you shall worship God at this mountain, Mount Horeb, aka Mount Sinai. Moses said to God, When I come to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers have sent me to you. And they asked me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, Ahie Ahie sent me to you. And God said further to Moses, Thus shall you speak to the Israelites. The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This shall be my name forever. This shall be my name forever. This shall be my name forever. Ahie Ashahie. You can read it in Exodus 3:14. So, anybody, his name is, okay, you call him that. I'm going to stay closest to the scripture. It says that's his name forever is in Exodus 3:14. Should be in the discussion. And you can do and say whatever you want. You don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not going to be fighting you. Oh, you should have said it this way. Ezekiel 14. So Job, Daniel, and Noah was in it. They had to save themselves by their own righteousness. I'm only a teacher, only can instruct and give you guidance. You take the path, whatever leads you. You deal with what you have to deal with. I have to deal with what I have to deal with. This shall be my name forever. This my appellation for all eternity. Go and assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me and said, I have taken note of you and of what is being done to you in Egypt. and I have declared, I will take you out of the misery of Egypt to the land of Canaan, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to you. Then you shall go with the elders of Israel to the king of Egypt, and you shall say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, manifested himself to us. Now therefore, let us go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness to sacrifice to the Lord our God. Yet I know that the king of Egypt will let you go only because of a greater might. So I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with various wonders which I will work upon them. After that, he shall let you go, and I will dispose the Egyptians favorably toward this people, so that when you go, you will not go away empty handed. Each woman shall borrow from her neighbor and the lodgers in her house objects of silver and gold and clothing, and you shall put these on your sons and daughters, thus stripping the Egyptians. So he's going to let us, he led our foreparents out of Egypt basically rich, you know, of the day, like, with their gold and silver and raiments and stuff. That was the form of money. So listen, I'm going to tell you the 10 plagues. Number one, the last plague was the death of the firstborn when he sent the death angel. And when they sacrificed, offered the lamb up on Pesach, Passover, they sprinkled the blood over the doorpost. I didn't have the blood, so I just pretended I was putting blood over my doorpost. I'm striving to do what I can do. Let me give you the 10 plagues that forced Pharaoh's hand because he was definitely stiff necked. He was on demon time 24/7. So the Most High had to give them the 10 plagues. He had to give them the work. He had to put work in, easy work for him to make Pharaoh change his mind to he says, let my people go. And that's what he did. The first plague was he turned the Nile to blood. The second plague was the frogs. Third plague was the lice. The fourth plague was the flies, or it was wild beasts too. The fifth plague was pestilence. The livestock had got a whole bunch of diseases. The sixth plague was boils on their skin, where they made it so uncomfortable. Imagine boils inside your butt, on your butt, on the bottom of your feet, or your back, whatever. You can't sleep, go to the bathroom, stand up, whatever. So the sixth plague was boils. The seventh plague was thunder, hail, and lightning. The eighth plague was locusts. The ninth plague was darkness for 3 days. Could you imagine? And I can kind of imagine that because when I'm living in a third world country, Dominican Republic, when something lights go out once in a while, like frequently, off and on, but it goes out. And where I live at, I don't live in the city. And even in the city, they got some street lights that stay on. But over here, some of the lights go out, you can't even see a hand in front of you. It's like dark. So could you imagine the Most High's 3 days of darkness? You can't see nothing. Imagine 3 days of it nonstop. What a plague. You can't picture it because you haven't been in darkness. I've been in darkness here, like oh shit, can't see my legs, can't see nothing. uh, that was the ninth plague, darkness for 3 days, and the last plague was death of the firstborn. And the death angel came out and killed the firstborn of all the Egyptians and all their livestock. So let's put the movie on. At the end of the movie, it's like I think 17 minutes. You will enjoy it. I did. I watched it already. So to verify that it's okay. Now listen. Remember, Torah Tanakh is a small genre. There's only a small handful of us Torah teachers. Koheles is just another name for teacher more, but I don't like to use the same thing people use. And since I'm a student of King Solomon, in Ecclesiastes 1 in chapter 3, or it's 1 in chapter 7. I think it's 1 in chapter 7. He refers to himself as a Koheles, a teacher. And since I'm a student of King Solomon, not literally, but through my studies, I look up to his writings. I memorize them. I got them in notebooks. He calls himself a Kohelet, which is AKA a teacher. So I say Kohelet. Um, the majority of people are Messianic Hebrews, all on the internet, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, TikTok, all of them are Messianic or Negro Christians. So, they got that JC thing. So in this movie, it's a good AI movie about the wilderness. And there's only one part in there, I'll let you know ahead of time. One guy's going to be praying, and then the narrator's going to say, and yeah, even JC, he just say a couple words. Remember, Gloria, one of my old subscribers, says, chew the meat, spit out the bone, or throw the baby out the bathwater. It gives the good message of the wilderness and the lesson that needs to be taught. Just throw out that little 2-second JC piece that they said because they don't know any better. But we know better. Okay? When you know better, do better. Okay, here we go. Fair use, fair use. Fair use, fair use. 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Okay, movie time. Let me put the volume up. Make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. Let me put the volume up. Enjoy. Enjoy movie time with the Kohelet and Hebrew on the island too. I love the Hebrew Israelites. Thank the Most High to let us see this Pesach day, this Passover day. And let's go.
Imagine living your entire life as a slave. Your parents were slaves. Your grandparents were slaves. For 400 years, your people had known nothing but oppression in Egypt. Then suddenly, everything changed. A prophet named Moses appeared. Plagues struck Egypt. The mighty empire of Pharaoh began to crumble. And one night, you walked out of slavery. Then came the moment no one would ever forget. The sea itself opened. The walls of water stood on both sides as your people crossed the Red Sea on dry ground. Behind you, the most powerful army on earth was destroyed. Freedom had finally come. And the land God promised your ancestors was not far away. In fact, historians estimate the journey from Egypt to the Promised Land could have taken only about 11 days. 11 days. But something shocking happened. Instead of entering the land, Israel spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness. An entire generation died in the desert. Why would God do this? Did the people fail? Was this punishment? Or was the wilderness part of a much bigger plan? Because the truth behind Israel's 40 years in the desert reveals something profound. After leaving Egypt and crossing the wilderness, the people of Israel finally arrived at a place called Kadesh Barnea. This location was incredibly important because Kadesh Barnea stood right at the border of the Promised Land. The journey that began with miracles in Egypt had now reached its moment of decision. Before entering the land, Moses made a strategic choice. He selected 12 men, one leader from each tribe of Israel, and sent them on a mission. Their task was simple: travel into the land of Canaan and investigate it. See what the land was like, study the cities, observe the people who lived there, and bring back a report. For 40 days, the spies explored the land. When they returned, they confirmed something remarkable. The land was exactly as God had promised. It was fertile, rich, a land flowing with milk and honey. But then the report changed. 10 of the spies began to speak with fear. Yes, the land was good, but the cities were fortified, and the people living there were powerful. Some of them even appeared like giants. The 10 spies concluded with a terrifying statement. We cannot attack those people. They are stronger than we are. Fear quickly spread through the camp. But 2 of the spies saw the situation very differently. Their names were Joshua and Caleb. While others focused on the size of the enemy, Joshua and Caleb focused on the power of God. They urged the people to move forward. They believed the promise. They believed the land could be taken. But what happened next would become one of the most critical turning points in the entire story of Israel. At first glance, it looked like the problem was the giants in the land. Tall warriors, fortified cities, powerful nations already living in Canaan. But the real problem was not outside Israel, it was inside them. Think about what these people had already witnessed. They had seen the power of God with their own eyes. They saw the plagues that brought Egypt to its knees. They walked through the Red Sea as the waters stood like walls around them. They watched the army of Pharaoh disappear beneath the waves, and they had experienced miracles that most people could only imagine. And yet, when the moment came to trust God again, fear took over. The people began to cry out in despair. They complained against Moses. They complained against Aaron. And then they said something shocking. Let us choose another leader and return to Egypt. Think about that for a moment. Return to Egypt. Return to the place of slavery. Return to the place where their people had suffered for centuries. Why would anyone want to go back? Because slavery with predictability felt safer than freedom with uncertainty. Egypt, for all its cruelty, was familiar. But the future God was leading them into required something difficult. It required faith. And in that moment, fear overwhelmed faith. The people looked at the giants in Canaan and believed they were too strong. But the real enemy standing in their way was not the giants in the land. The real enemy was the fear growing inside their hearts. And the fear of the people did not go unnoticed. After hearing the complaints and rebellion of Israel, God responded with a judgment that would change the course of their history. Your children will be shepherds here for 40 years, suffering for your unfaithfulness. For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will bear the consequences. The message was clear. The spies had explored Canaan for 40 days. So, the nation would wander in the wilderness for 40 years. But this decision was not simply about punishment. Something deeper was happening. God was doing what we might call a reset of the generation. The generation that had witnessed the miracles in Egypt. The generation that stood at the edge of the promised land and refused to trust God would not be the generation that entered. One by one, over the years, that generation would pass away in the wilderness. But God did not abandon his promise. 2 men from that generation were different, Joshua and Caleb. They had trusted God when the others doubted, and God promised that they would one day walk into the land that the others feared. But the ones who would inherit the promise would mostly be their children, a new generation, a generation that would grow up in the wilderness, learning to depend on God. Because sometimes, before God fulfills a promise, he first prepares the people who will carry it forward. But this raises another question. Why 40 years? Why not 10 years? Or 20? In the Bible, the number 40 appears again and again, often connected to moments of testing, preparation, and transformation. For example, Moses spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, receiving the law from God. The prophet Elijah once traveled 40 days through the wilderness during a period of deep spiritual struggle, even in the New Testament.
Now listen, let me see if I can pass that up. He's going to say about JC. Yeah, right there. Okay, I don't. All right, let's go there. So you guys, remember, these are Torah messianics.
Lasted 40 days and 40 nights. Again and again, the number 40 marks a season where something important is being shaped. A time of testing, a time of preparation, a time when the old way of thinking begins to break and something new begins to form. So when Israel wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, it was not just a random number. It represented a long period where God was allowing something deeper to happen. The wilderness was not simply a place of punishment. It was a spiritual training ground, a place where a nation that had lived as slaves would slowly learn how to become a people who trusted God. When we read the story of Israel wandering in the desert, it is easy to think of the wilderness as a place of delay, a place where nothing important was happening. Point. But the Bible tells a very different story. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, Moses later reminded the people of something powerful. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart. In other words, the wilderness was not empty time. It was a classroom. During those 40 years, several important things were happening. First, the people were learning complete dependence on God. Every morning, food appeared on the ground in the form of manna. When they had no water, God brought water from a rock. Day after day, their survival depended on God's provision. They were learning that their future would not be sustained by Egypt, but by God alone. Second, the wilderness was where Israel began to form its national identity. Remember, these people had just escaped centuries of slavery. They had never governed themselves. They had never built a society of their own. But in the wilderness, something new began to take shape. They received the law. They learned a moral structure that would guide their community. They established systems of worship centered around the tabernacle, and leadership structures were organized among the tribes. Slowly, the wilderness transformed a crowd of former slaves into a covenant nation. And third, the wilderness exposed the reality of human weakness. Even strong leaders faced challenges. At different moments, the people rebelled. There were complaints about food. There were struggles with authority. At one point, a man named Korah led a rebellion against Moses himself. These events revealed something important. The wilderness was not only shaping the nation, it was also revealing what was truly inside the hearts of the people. Because sometimes the most important lessons in life are learned, not in moments of victory, but in seasons of struggle. But there was also a psychological reason behind the 40 years in the wilderness, something deeper than geography, something deeper than punishment. Because leaving Egypt did not immediately remove Egypt from their minds. A slave mindset does not disappear overnight. For generations, the people of Israel had lived under the control of Pharaoh. They were told what to do, where to go, how to live. Their entire identity had been shaped by slavery. So even after they physically left Egypt, their thinking had not yet changed. Again and again during the journey, the people said the same troubling words. We should go back to Egypt. Think about the meaning behind that statement. Egypt was the place of oppression, the place where their people had cried out in suffering. And yet, when faced with uncertainty in the wilderness, some of them began to see Egypt as a place of safety. Why? Because slavery was familiar. Freedom on the other hand, required courage. It required trust. It required learning how to live in a completely new way. And that kind of transformation takes time. So the wilderness became a place where something profound happened. The generation that had been shaped by slavery slowly passed away. And in their place, a new generation grew up. A generation that had never lived under Pharaoh. A generation that had not experienced the chains of Egypt. Instead, they had grown up watching something different, and they had seen manna appear each morning. They had watched water come from rocks in the desert. They had witnessed God's guidance day after day in the wilderness. The generation that eventually entered the promised land carried a different perspective. They were not a people defined by slavery. They were a people who had learned to depend on God. There is also a powerful leadership lesson hidden in this story. You see, because the 40 years in the wilderness reveals something that applies far beyond ancient Israel. A nation cannot step into its future while its mindset remains trapped in the past. Israel had been physically freed from Egypt, but mentally, many of them were still tied to it. They still thought like slaves. They still feared uncertainty. They still believed the challenges ahead were greater than the promise of God. The wilderness became the place where those patterns were slowly broken. Over time, the journey through the desert began to remove what had been shaping them for generations. It removed the fear that had paralyzed them. It removed their emotional dependence on Egypt, and it began to break the deep-rooted slave mentality that had controlled their thinking. But before Israel could inherit the land promised to their ancestors, they had to learn something essential. They had to learn discipline. They had to learn trust. And they had to learn obedience. Because the promised land was not simply a gift waiting to be received. It was a responsibility that required a people who were ready to carry it. And the wilderness was the place where that preparation began. When many people read the story of Israel wandering in the wilderness, they see it as nothing more than punishment, a delay, a failure. But when we look deeper, the wilderness begins to reveal a different meaning. In many ways, the wilderness was not just God's judgment. See, it was God's preparation. Because the greatest obstacle to Israel's future was not the enemies waiting in Canaan. It was the mindset the people carried inside them. The wilderness slowly removed the fear that had taken root in their hearts. It stripped away their dependence on Egypt. And over time, it shaped a new generation strong enough to carry the promise forward. So when Israel finally stepped into the promised land, something remarkable had already happened. Even the real miracle was not simply arriving in the land. The real miracle was the transformation that happened in the wilderness. Because sometimes the longest journeys in life are not about distance. They are about who we must become before we arrive. And perhaps that is why this story still speaks so powerfully today. Many people experience wilderness seasons in their own lives, moments where progress feels slow, moments where the future seems uncertain. But the story of Israel reminds us that sometimes the wilderness is not a sign that God has abandoned the journey. Sometimes the wilderness is where preparation happens, where character is built, where faith grows stronger, and where the person we are becoming is shaped long before the promise is fulfilled. Because the destination may be important, but the transformation along the way is often the greater miracle. For those who want to spend more time reflecting and praying through Scripture, I've written 31-day devotion.
Okay, Hebrews. Hopefully you enjoyed the movie night at Hebron Island too. I enjoyed it. I didn't watch it exactly with you, but I was listening with you. I was right there in my kitchen. And it was good, and I was able to remove the JC little 3 second, 2 second spot in there, and basically it gave a lesson of fear. He tells us, "Do not fear. He said, I'm going to take care of you. You fear the Most High, keep His commandments." In Isaiah 41, you have nothing to fear. You won't get some results that you want, but that doesn't mean the plan of the Most High is not going through. It's that He picks. Remember, love, hate, good, evil, all is predestined by the Most High. Fortune and misfortune is just given by the Most High. He does everything. His plan is fulfilled in you, in me, in the world. So you just have to go with it. That was a good story about the wilderness. I think it went good with the Exodus. That's part of the Exodus. He had to get rid of all the old heads. Even though I'm an old head, but I'm not an old head from that time. Because, personally with myself, I don't want to follow the group. Like them people, the Israelites, oh, well, we should have went back. I'm not there, so I can't say 100%, but I won't. What do you mean you want to go back to slavery with that crazy Egyptian? No, stay out here. Pray to the Most High. Tell Moses to hit the rock so we can get some water. I would love the manna to come down because I like to eat natural things. What are you guys doing? They're away. We still got those same type of people in the nation of Israel right today. I want to go back. Scorpions, rebellious. Why are we doing this? We've been walking for 40 years. I have been wearing the same sandals for 40 years. I'm tired. I want to go back. At least I have different change of clothes. At least I could eat some pomegranates and some olives, Bye, ninja. Nah, we're going with the Most High. As for the old path, which is the good way, and walk therein. Moses, through the instruction of the Most High, was giving them the old path. That's the path that, I want to be on now. And this is what my work on the earth right now is, to be on the old path. Hopefully you are also wanting to be on the old path. Where is this thing? So anyway, let me read some of these comments again. Tavex, purity becoming one. Tavex, purity becoming one. Tavex. Yeah. Tavex. And the X is the pictograph. It's two crossed sticks. It's not X marks the spot. It's not Wakanda and Black Panther. It's not a pirate's flag. They copy us. It's the pictograph of the 400 numeric value of the Phoenician Hebrew alphabet, and it's the pictograph of the 400 Babylonian Hebrew pictograph. Okay? Anua, thank you for coming on. Topics. User, Tavex. His will is real. Tavex. Great to have you on. All right. I strive daily and do my best in my imperfect mind and body to keep the laws, commandments, and the Most High alone. Dietary laws, we have to try hard to do our best to please the Most High alone. At His will for real, hope all is well with you. There is a website that gives you only the Old Testament Phoenician and Assyrian text and pronunciation of both just impelling idea. Write it up. Let me put it in the chat. Let me see it. I'll write it down. I'll check it out. I have a book. I have a Hebrew language book. It has mostly Paleo in it and some other languages, and it has the Phoenician Hebrew. And listen, I'll be honest with you, as a Koheleth, I have to study read a lot of stuff out of there. It's a lot of material. And, I'm not going to speak to anybody in the Phoenician Hebrew. So, I limit myself with that. I wait for the kingdom, most I will, and I pray that I'm one of them and you're one of them. And the language will be downloaded like in the Matrix in my head. I'll know how to talk it. So, I have problems with Spanish. Tengo que decirte algo importante. Afuera avanza, por favor. I know very little of Spanish. I know a lot of words and phrases. I know how to get around and live here, but yeah, all I know of the Hebrew, Phoenician. I learned the alphabet. I learned the pictographs. I learned the numeric values, and that's about it. And like I said, I made my ring with the 400 numeric value of the Phoenician Hebrew. Nobody Nobody on here is going to learn Phoenician Hebrew. So we're not going to be talking in Phoenician Hebrew and so forth and so on. Not saying it's worth it. If you guys want to learn, the language more than me, go right ahead. Help me out. But, I'm just led to know that. I know the foundation, the history of it, and the elementary. Remember, to have a good foundation, you need the fundamentals. And guess what? Learning the alphabet is the fundamental. So I know the fundamentals of the Phoenician Hebrew language. Okay, anyway, let me go on. His will, stupid books. His will is real. Correction, I apologize for typing your name. Okay. The best book to read today is the Law and History book, The Old Path, right? That's the Tanakh. Teshuya in the year of 5786. I tell you, it, other countries got different years. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that. I thought a long time ago, well, not even a long time ago, like recently or whatever, everywhere is 2026. Nah, last year I learned that, can't know everything. I knew it was 86 in the Jewish countries. And it's like, I don't know, like year 19 or something in some Indian country. It's all different years. I made a video on that. The Most High alone knows our hearts. We cannot fool the Most High alone. He knows if our intentions are good and righteous, and we are striving to please the Most High alone. Dietary laws, blessing. Okay. Um, uh, Iron sharpens iron. Anua, Psalm 83. I will enjoy your Tanakh scripture. You didn't start itching? Maybe some people, he's reading a whole chapter. my Hulu is on. When is he gonna finish? JD Israel in the house. I didn't see you until now. Topic. It's always great to have the militant Torah soldier in the camp. They chose other leaders today, Islam and Christianity, correct. Young King in the house. Oh, I didn't see you either. Great to have you in. Hold on. Hold on. Tarex. Same to you all, Young King. Us going into that second Exodus with Moses straining out us remnant. Nice. Young King, I'll watch from the beginning. Okay, excellent. Yeah, watch it from the beginning, Young King. It's always great to have you on. This is the new Yeshua Israel, Hebrew on the Island too. JD, it's good to see your new laptop. Yeah, I got one. Praise the Most High. Uh, anyway, I always listen. I love the Hebrew Israelites. I enjoy coming on with you. We're convocating together, put our seatbelts on, let the orange and all his cronies do all the crazy stuff on the earth. Just keep praying. Remember, 1 Samuel chapter 7, you're going to return back to the Most High, return back to the Most High with your whole heart, put away the strange God and serve him alone. This is a new year from Israel. Hebrew on the island too. Torah only. Until next time, next time. All right, now how do I get out of here? Hold it. Uh-oh. They're changing the screen up on me here. Where it says in, it says edit. I don't like when they change stuff. Now I don't know how to get off. What is this? Show screen. Nope. Cancel. Edit. No. Cancel. Listen, I don't know what they did with the in button, the in stream button. Where the hell is that at? Oh man. See, I'm not good with the computer. And you know, I like it simple. You don't have access to this feature. Where not? Oh, in stream, they put up on top. Look at they change. I was gonna say changing SHIT around. They put it up on the top on the right, all the way by my Hebrew on the island too. Dang, stop changing stuff, YouTube. Anyway, this is a new year from Israel. Hebrew on the island too. Until next time, next time.